Hey everybody, it's your girl PJamma and PJamma Life. And today, boy, do we have some things we've been waiting on for a while. So let the fellas introduce themselves and then we'll hop into it. Start us off, the professor of a marvel.
Hey everybody, it's Patrick. Glad you're here. Got some great stuff this week to talk about.
All right. Our master of Jedi, all things Star Wars. I know he's excited. Say hey to the people.
Greetings and salutations, everybody. I can't wait to kick it off and start talking some new Star Wars with you.
Woo! All new Star Wars this week. So this week, we're going to talk about The Bad Batch. And we got 2 episodes. Oh my goodness. And who knew? And we're also going to talk about Tom Clancy's Without Remorse on Amazon Prime and Thunder Force on Netflix. So let's roll it out with our first clip.
Execute Order 66. What are you doing? Following orders. We don't even know what the order is. Stand down until we know what's going on. I can help you. Come with me. No! Where's the Jedi? I stunned him when he jumped. He didn't make it.
Galactic Empire? We're soldiers of the Republic.
Republic, Empire. What's the difference?
Surely you realize the precarious state this newly formed empire is in. Clone troopers will be needed to maintain order throughout the galaxy.
Why would Tarkin send us to attack our own forces?
Because we refuse to fight for an empire. What are you gonna do? Strike us down like you did the Jedi?
Has the matter been rectified?
The inhibitor chip augmentation was a success.
Ooh, looks pretty interesting. Now, I'm not as familiar with Clone Wars. I've been trying to catch up, but 7 seasons is a lot to catch up on. So, you all have to forgive me. I won't know as much as you all. So, let's get started. How about we start with David and give us your take on this?
Well, and for a quick point to Pam and all of our viewers here, and thank you for again joining us. The last season of the Clone Wars, that 7th season, is really our first introduction to the Bad Batch, and so that's when we see them and want to echo one of the other clones from the earlier seasons. They come together and form this team. So if you're going to watch anything for the Bad Batch, maybe start with those groups. Dave Filoni is now, I think, certainly with the animation going into The Mandalorian too, Dave Filoni is the voice for Star Wars. And his fingerprints are on this throughout. With the Bad Batch, you saw this great connection to Star Wars Rebels with the lead protagonist there. We meet him as a Jedi, but here he is as a Padawan. And I got to tell you, I had to watch it a couple of times. Like, that's him. And so Kanan, from that, we see him and how his arc where his master is killed and he's on the run. We see him years. It'd be interesting to see if we see him anymore between now and when we see him again in Rebels. But then we also saw Saw Gerrera, who we knew from Clone Wars, but also Rogue One, Forrest Whitaker, bringing that animated character to life. So if you like what Dave Filoni has done to flesh out the clones, strap yourselves in and you're going to be ready for something that's exciting. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. 2 episodes of almost an hour. I guess they're a little less than an hour, 35 minutes.
Oh, over an hour.
Was it over an hour?
Yeah, the first episode was over an hour, and then the second one was a standard 30 minutes.
It all went by so quick. I was so geeked when I saw, hey, it's on Friday too. But this is, again, if you're okay with what happened with the prequels, in terms of the clones and that aspect, then just sit back and really enjoy this. Filoni has really kind of put a lot of meat on the lives of the clones and made, again, you think clones, they're all the same. They're all unique. They've got special personality quirks. This is going to be a lot of fun to see how this goes, and great animation quality if you're going to be paying attention to that.
Yeah. When you go back and look at like I've been doing, looking at the series from the beginning, and then I jumped to the last season and then Bad Batch. Oh man, the animation has come a long way.
It has.
Way. Well, Pat, tell us what you think. I think you watched the series, all the series, didn't you?
Yeah, I've seen everything except whatever that last animated one they did was. I've seen Clone Wars, obviously. Rebels I've been rewatching again because it's so good. And I was so excited to see Kanan. I'm like, oh, hell yeah. I can see how this happened. Wow. And he's young. Check him out, man. He seems like he's got his stuff together, and Dave brought up the same point I really wanted to make, that, Dave Filoni is now the voice of Star Wars. He really is. You see, Jon Favreau started out The Mandalorian, but you could see midway through the second season, you could start to see Dave Filoni's fingerprints, him guiding the actual narrative, the overall arcing storyline. Because if there's one thing we know about Disney / Marvel / Star Wars now, they are good at making long-term plans and having a story arc that's going to go through many, many things. They're doing what Marvel has done for years with comics. Mm-hmm. You would see, like, you'd have an episode of this, and then you'd see a crossover, and then they'd even put it in like a little blurb at the bottom of the panel that would say, see X-Men. You'd be reading Spider-Man, see X-Men number 27, and you're like, oh, wow, I got to read X-Men because this is going to tie into this, And then they'd have these big overarching story things where they would bring in 20 different titles, and it'd all be part of this big story arc. And you can see that they've taken that lesson and said, this is something we need to do. This is something that's going to keep everybody interested in all our properties, not just one. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, kudos to him. It was great. It was good to see that world come back. You saw Guerrero looking a little bit younger than he did in Rebels.
Yeah.
He looked younger than he did in Rebels, and he looked way younger than he did in Rogue One. So awesome. I totally loved it.
Yeah, and I saw on a website the episodes for, if you're like me who haven't watched all the Clone Wars original episodes, if you watch season 1, episode 4, and then season 3, episode 1, 2, 18, and 19, season 5, episodes 2 through 5, and season 7, episodes 1 through 4, that'll kind of catch you up on the characters in the Bad Batch. And so you don't have to, like me, try to watch 7 seasons.
And you should still watch all 7 seasons.
You should still watch it, because there's a lot of the intrigue and the what's going on, what led up to. Like in one episode, I saw a young Captain Tarkin. He was Captain Tarkin then. Yep. And some of the villains. But I think what's interesting, just trying to catch up on Bad Batch and watching, is to see in the last episode I watched, season 7, episode 4, you got to see some of the darkness come out in Anakin. And so I think that with Clone Wars, you'll see more of his progression towards going dark. So it's going to be interesting to see how this series, which is really interesting for them to take on the clones, because I was kind of, now for those of you who haven't followed it, it might be a little, maybe I was just confused, but the switch trying to understand who's the bad guy from the Republic to the Separatists. And now I'm like, but now we're the Separatists, right? And the Republic was wrong. And so now it's in the Bad Batch, it's fully become the Empire. So now you know exactly who not to root for. But now it's confusing kind of with the clones because you're kind of like, but they were just good guys, but now they're not good guys after Order 66. So that part is going to take a little getting used to kind of follow along. But I think that's the point of the series is that the Bad Batch are trying to find their way in this new galactic empire and whose side should they be on.
Did both of you guys watch the second episode yet?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just watching the first one, it made me. There was a real sense of foreboding for the clones. I mean, it sounds like they might be wanting to just, let's just push them off into the river or push them off in Camino. Let them, let's start over. Let's just recruit people. It's cheaper. Wow. I was like, and they kind of hinted that, and I didn't know where. Don't tell me. I'm gonna go watch it after we get done here. But yeah, because there was some real. It looks like it might be kind of a really dark ride ahead for the clones.
Right.
Yeah, and that made sense because I was always a little confused in the final episodes 7, 8, and 9 about. Okay, so I thought the stormtroopers were all clones, and then Finn was a clone. But they explained that, which I thought was great. How they explained that. Oh, yeah, these clones are expensive. We could just take children and make them into soldiers. We could just enslave people and make them into soldiers, and that's a lot cheaper. And I was like, oh, that I thought that was brilliant of them to kind of explain.
It was good to say that now, but one of the things, Pam, George Lucas couldn't make up his mind about the whole thing with the clones after Revenge of the Sith. Mm-hmm. And you saw that with the Hasbro figures where there was a period of time all the stormtroopers were clones. So, you take off the stormtrooper helmet, Death Star gunner helmet, and they were all clones. And so they were having a little bit of confusion there as to what to do, which, again, after Empire Strikes Back, Lucas was kind of not having a full long-term arching plan. And I think that's one of the negatives. And I think for me, I'm not going to dwell on it too much when we talk about this, but when we look at the clones, and I have to think back to some of the poor planning of the original prequels and how this was figured out. There was a lot of discussion earlier in the mythos behind this and the waiting between Jedi and Phantom Menace that, maybe the clones weren't necessarily representing the Republic. I think that was kind of the implication that the Jedi had fought clones, in the Clone War. I mean, that was a lot of the talk prior to everything. And, Lucas, he did a whole movie that didn't really go anywhere with Phantom Menace, and it's like, oh shoot, we got to kind of move this along, and because we're all waiting for Clone Wars. So I think that, and that's where I say I think Filoni took something that was poorly constructed and not necessarily well thought out, and really gave it depth. He gave it characters.
Yeah.
So I might not like all the aspects of the whole clone thing, but I really applaud what he did in creating and building onto the Star Wars universe into making it kind of a something you care about. You care about the characters, the depth is. You've seen that. I think you've both seen this with the cartoons. They're not just little kids' cartoons. These are really serious, good stories.
Yeah.
That grab you. And we're going to see that with this too.
Yeah.
Well, you think about it too. If you're looking at Rebels, which I know you haven't seen all the way, Pam, or at all. Rebels, you don't see. You see a small contingent of clones that basically retired out and got away from Camino and the whole thing that was going on there. And just there's a few of them, and they were integral clones that were really connected to the Jedi. So maybe they grew a little more than just the general trooper that's the first out of the academy. run. Hey, charge that machine gun nest. That kind of guy. They were kind of the right hands of the Jedi. So maybe they grew a little bit more, grew differently. So there's a few clones, but you don't see armies of clones.
Right.
So that kind of hints towards a really dark ending for a lot of those clones that you saw in that first episode.
Yeah. And I thought that, the way they write, it's just so brilliant, because already I'm like, I hate Crosshair. I don't like him. He's an evil guy. He sucks. And then the other ones, I'm like, oh, I love them. They are so brothers. And, so I'm already like attached to some characters and like boo on some characters, just in a couple, and not knowing the whole backstory. So it's the way that I just thought it was really important how they were able, just with a few sentences, kind of tie back in some of the missing threads from some of the other stories. So it's going to be a good ride. But before we go on to the next, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Just real quick. What did you think about Omega? This is the first time we've seen a female clone. Now, it's a cute little kid. This is our first Jenga clone. Not a Django plane, but a Jenga. What y'all think?
Well, I was like, oh, okay. So Dave Filoni, if you want, was on Good Morning America this week. Okay. And did an interview, and people were able to zoom in questions to him. And one way he answered was that, George Lucas told him that, these are kids' stories. These are stories, to help kids too. So you always have to have some element that will speak to children. And so that's when I saw little Omega. I was like, oh, okay, that's what that is. I mean, she sounds great. It'll be interesting to see, because it sounds like she has some hidden abilities.
She's a bad batcher. She can be a bad batcher too. I mean, she's not like every other clone. All the other clones are 20 to 30-year-old males, in armor. And here she is. She's a female. She's young. I mean, this is a definite outlier of the clones. So, I mean, she's just like all these other bad batch that don't fit in neatly into the categories, but may have some unique talents that put her in the team as a very important part of it. So I'm excited. Now, one thing that I enjoy the Camoans. Is that what they're called? Kaminoans? The little alien. I love their design, and I adore and love their voices. Oh, it's just so great when I see them. I'm like, oh, I just want to see a whole show just with the two of them talking. Something about their voices are so plummy and smooth and melodic and interesting to me. I don't know. I just love it.
They got that close encounters looking alien aspect.
They do.
Yeah, but the way I really loved how they, they're like, well, we're about our money. You know what I mean? They're like, hey, we got all these clones here, and we got a contract, so you better come and pay us. I mean, they say it so much smoother. But I thought it was interesting because I'm sure the Kaminoan female, she seemed to have had a attachment to Omega. And so she, which seemed to be out of the ordinary for them. So I thought that was a nice element to put in there. But I really think it's interesting with this series and going back to Clone Wars is that it's also about business and trade. So a lot of this too is driven, the war is driven about trade and commerce and contracts and, some of that. So I just thought that was an interesting element to put in there about the dangers of commerce and unrestricted capitalism and some of that. So I thought it was really interesting.
There's a lot of adult
going back and looking at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, to me, one of the really powerful themes that didn't get discussed, certainly in the movies, and not touched upon here as much, is you create a whole group of humans.
Mm-hmm.
They're duplicates of each other, but they're human beings who have absolutely no rights.
Yeah.
No rights, no nothing. And that, so it's a fascinating aspect. But yeah, there's a lot of morality issues that are evolving here, and a new villain that we're going to be seeing more about. He was disclosed on May 4th as part of the marketing campaign. But Admiral Rampart, he is he's going to be the bad guy. He's going to be one of the lead bad guys along with Tarkin. And so you can still get them at Walmart for $24.99. But I'm curious to see what we're going to see with this new villain. Of course, now one of the great things that Dave Filoni did was with Rebels, he took an existing villain, Grand Admiral Thrawn, and brought him into his universe, which really kind of upped the game. And again, that was Timothy Zahn, who kind of jump-started the expanded universe renaissance that Disney didn't want to embrace. But when push came to shove, this elegant villain got brought in. We'll see what Rampart's like as we go forward.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll look forward to it. And let me just, before we move on, say hey to our guest, Tim Windsor. Hey, our friend Tim Windsor. Good to see you. And Dwayne DeMarcos. Hey, Dwayne. Good to see you too. So let's move on to our next movie, Without Remorse. Tom Clancy's Without Remorse on Amazon Prime. Let's show the clip.
Senior Chief Kelly is in critical condition, isn't likely to pull through. But Kelly is the third member of the Special Operations Unit to be attacked in the last 24 hours. We are taking every possible scenario into consideration.
Lieutenant Commander, come in.
Mr. Secretary, all due respect, the director made it clear us to brief you and you only.
Take a seat. I asked the CIA to brief me on the situation relating to your men. I thought you'd like to be present.
Thank you, sir.
Give me a name. What have you learned? Make our trip down here worthwhile.
If this guy's as bad as he says he is, then you need somebody like me. And there's nobody like me.
Oh. Okay. Oh, I'm back up. Okay.
Yep.
Let's start with Pat, because I know you've read the book as well.
I did, and this had nothing to do with the book. Just FYI.
Yeah.
There were a couple names that were similar, but other than that, there was. I wanted to like this. I really did. I wanted to like it a lot because I love the book, and I was like, "Ooh, this would be cool. They can do some really cool intrigue things." Because the book was about how there's some political intrigue and how Kelly was a smart guy and he was able to do all this stuff and he put all these things together. Man, this was just a basic crime procedural with a little bit of a revenge thing over it. It was terrible. I mean, Michael Jordan he's great to watch. He's a very commanding presence. I thought the story was weak. I mean, it was basically a revenge thing, with not really well written, even, to be honest. I didn't think, but that was just me. I know Pam's got something else. Because me and Pam always disagree on this stuff. I'm waiting to hear Pam. I've been waiting to hear Pam.
She's kind of waking up. So let's see what she says.
You always disagree. When I really feel bad, something's terrible, Pam's going to come out and tell me how great it was. But I'm waiting. Go ahead. No pressure, Pam. No pressure.
Well, I'll go next because the gauntlet has been thrown.
It has.
And actually, I wanted
You wanted to like it too, didn't you?
I love Michael B. Jordan in Creed and Creed 2. Oh, especially Creed 2. I loved it. But this, I know it's the start of a series. It seems like that's how they were billing it as a beginning of a series. But I just felt like I've seen it before. It wasn't anything. Even I was wanting him to rampage and like, you kill my wife and my baby, I'm just killing everybody. And then it was, oh no, they got to go to, was it Germany or was it somewhere? And I was kind of confused about where they were half the time, and it was, it's definitely something that you can watch. It's not horrible. It really isn't horrible.
I didn't say that either.
It's not Mortal Kombat.
No,
exactly.
But it's watchable. I mean, it's probably like, I don't know, a B. And you like, if you don't have anything else to do and you want to watch something with action, because it was like action. We don't have to worry about story. Action. Who cares about the bad guys, the good guys? Action. So it's okay. It's okay. I kind of agree with Pat. See, that this was okay. It wasn't great. I think Michael B. Jordan did the best he could with what he got,
Exactly.
But it was just okay. Maybe the sequel will be better, and I'm looking forward to see if there's a sequel, if it'll be better. So I think he could do better with a better script. And I think Tom Clancy stuff is like super easy to turn into great movies, because
especially if you got someone like Michael B. Jordan, and you've also got a platform like Amazon who can make a series if they wanted to and turn this into a 10 episode series. It would have covered all the intrigues.
Yes.
And it could have been really good.
Be the better way to go.
Yeah.
As a series, because I've loved the Clancy novels and I've watched the films.
Yeah.
I haven't felt, and I'm a big Harrison Ford fan. I didn't think that those films did those books justice.
Mm-hmm.
Hunt for Red October was really good.
Decent.
But again, the books, there's so much more depth here. I'd have to go back and reread the book and compare it. Yeah. I'll defer to Pat on the compare and contrast there. I like Michael Jordan's his performance when he went back to his home and was crying.
Yeah.
That was like, that's a great scene.
Yeah,
I could feel that guttural angst, and I like that. But it's really hard to the depth of Clancy's novels, and he might have been a horse's patootie if you talk to him or interviews, but his books were wonderful to read. I think it's hard to bring that into film, even though they are good action stories.
Yeah, and Dwayne says that Clancy gets a little too technical in his writing. That there's a lot of details in there.
There is a lot of details.
Yeah, that you can't get all of that onto the screen. But the core of the story they could have gotten onto the screen. Yeah. Now I do have to give a shout out to Jodie Turner-Smith, who is great. Yeah. She was in Queen and Slim. Yeah. And she was pregnant through this movie, doing all that action stuff. She was pregnant. So that speaks to what women get things done. Do you hear me, baby? So that's those kind of little things that once I'm like, okay, I can't completely trash it. And I really would have liked to see her. I see why she wasn't as action as it could have been. But if there's another one, man, I expect that she will turn it up and really come out to kick ass. So she's somebody now, I think, this is an aside, but I think would make a great Storm. In a Marvel kind of reboot. I
Oh,
would love to see her.
the Mohawk Storm, yes.
Yeah, because she kind of gives me more of the look of a Storm rather than like Halle Berry, or I don't even know who that other girl was they put in last movies. But I like her. I'm looking forward to her doing more things. So overall,
she was definitely the best. I mean, Michael Jordan's great, but he got his butt dramatically kicked by her because she was much better than he was in that movie. And it could be the material, but she had the same people handing her the same dog food. She made it look like, a filet mignon.
At least it came out to a hot dog when she was doing it.
Whoa.
Guy Pearce. I mean, even Guy Pearce wasn't as good as Guy Pearce can be, and I love Guy Pearce.
Yeah.
And I was just kind of like, he was kind of phoning it in too. So, maybe
everybody got paid. They weren't worried.
That's right.
Yeah, he'll be in something else great. Okay, so let's look at our last movie, which is Thunder Force. With Melissa McCarthy and Olivia Spencer as two new superheroes on the scene.
In March of 1987, a massive pulse of interstellar cosmic rays struck the Earth and its population. These cosmic rays triggered a genetic transformation in a select few, unleashing unimaginable superpowers. My parents were among those caught in the crossfire. I vowed that day to make it my life's mission to stop the miscreants.
What are you?
Well, I'm a Gemini. What the hell are you?
You'd think Cancer, but Capricorn actually, Sag Moon, and all kinds of things rising.
I guess with that trailer, we're really trying not to spoil it for people, but it's that movie. Somebody else talk about Thunder Force.
The greatest film of our time.
Oh,
a story
come
of great
on. I'm
pathos.
dying right now.
It makes you laugh. It makes you cry.
Mostly cry.
But we all wish we were Crabman. I don't. No, I mean, it's like, hey, let's make Melissa McCarthy a superhero, and why not? It's a pandemic. What else you got better to do, right? I did like Jason Bateman as Admiral Akbar.
That was
good.
Admiral Akbar.
That's a trap.
No, it was what you thought it would be, and that was fine. I knew it was going to be stupid, and Melissa McCarthy, God bless her, she keeps playing the same character in every movie. It was just with different clothes and different scenarios. I mean, it's the same character. It's always the fish out of water, the trailer trash, whatever you want to call it. She's coming out to be the low class person and the high class. She's always the fish out of water, and that was cute, and it was good. I mean, it wasn't. When you order cotton candy and you get cotton candy, you should probably say, "Hey, good cotton candy." It was entertaining. I enjoyed it, and the Jason Bateman thing was just enough of a palate cleanser to not make the cotton candy too overpowering. He was a breath of fresh air in that movie. He was hilarious. He was the best. He stole every single scene he was in.
He is so good. And I mean, he had a period of time from being a kid on Silver Spoons or whatever, and you didn't see him. And then he comes in. He's great in dramatic roles, but his humor, he is so good in those subtle roles. If you Horrible Bosses, my man rocks in those. He is a fantastic actor. Watch Bad Teacher and Horrible Bosses, and you'll know a little bit about my world. But that's a little subtle hint if you know my backstory. But anyway, but he was the best part of the movie. Without question.
Come on now, this movie was not great.
I didn't say it was. I was the Michael Bathos comment.
My problem with it is the lack of chemistry between Melissa and Olivia. It was something just not there.
Yeah.
And that's what really made me mad about it is that the lack of, I mean, it was like they had just met in the first scene and like I'm like, did y'all go out for a beer or something before you got to this movie? Because y'all act like, you know, what is going on? And so I didn't like that, and I didn't really care for the how they put it together. It could have been really interesting and different, but it just wasn't. It was just so many missed opportunities. And I love both of these women. I love Bobby Cannavale. I thought he was a great person in it. Jason Bateman is always good, and his flirtiness with Melissa.
Oh, yeah.
McCarthy,
That was awesome.
I thought that was hilarious.
Best part of the movie.
What was his power? I mean, did he just get deformed? Because I couldn't figure out what his superpower was other than clicking his claws. I mean, can you explain it?
I think he's just to be delicious with tartar sauce. I don't know what else to say about it.
Melted butter. Yeah.
That was so funny and weird, but it was just weird more than funny. And then Olivia Spencer's daughter, I was like, huh? And it was just like there was maybe a scene missing to kind of tie it together. Because I love Melissa McCarthy, even though you're right, it's kind of the same character, but Tammy and Spy, Bridesmaids, when she played the crazy friend, but this is the only one I'm kind of like, no, it just needed more editing, I thought. Yeah. And with the right, background in this kind of superhero comedy stuff, because her husband, him and the two of them usually write and direct. He directs and she writes with, but he just wrote it this time and directed, so maybe something was missing there. I don't know. It's funny. It has a lot of funny moments, but the whole thing is not well kind of put together. But one funny person in it was Mantis was in it as Laser from Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, that's
and
right.
So that she's unrecognizable because I always thought she had black hair in real life, and I mean I didn't think she had the tentacles or whatever, but I just for some reason I just thought, but she's I think she's Swedish or something. I mean, so she's like blonde hair and, very fair. And so when you see her in this, her character's kind of weird too. So it was just a lot of weirdness. But I kind of like seeing her as a villain, instead of, such a sweet little alien weirdo in Guardians of the Galaxy. It was nice to see her as a kind of dumb villain.
She played that well. She played it well.
She was good for what she was. It was sadly written, but like I said, Jason Bateman stole everything he was in.
Yeah,
scene. I mean, he upstaged, and Pam, you actually put your finger on it exactly. There was just no chemistry between Melissa McCarthy and Olivia. They felt like they're supposed to have been best friends through grade school all the way to high school and stuff when they went their own separate paths. And man, you got none of that feel. It was like, I met you once. I remember we sat next to each other in 7th grade in Mr. Stephenless class, and I didn't know you, but okay, sure, we're best friends.
Yeah, it was kind of like when she popped up, it was like, who are you again? And it was like, and then you guys are supposed to be besties for life. And it was kind of like, Ooh. You go to the class reunion and somebody comes up to you, it's like, oh my God, there you are. How are you? And you're like, ew, what's your name? I mean, it was just,
Yeah, I'm always, hey, you, it's great to see you, man.
yes.
This is why you don't go to class reunions.
Oh, now, Pat, you know that's not true. You know we kicked it hard at your class reunion. That was super fun. Yeah.
That thing we did at Legends?
No, the thing we did at the levee.
That wasn't a class reunion. That was you and me and Tony and Doug. That wasn't my class
it was
reunion.
a class reunion, you goon. We went to the class reunion, and then afterwards, everybody went to the levee. Anyway, that's a side conversation.
That's a whole nother show. Come back for that.
Whole nother one.
Whatever.
But yeah, I mean, the movie itself, So, this is kind of on that one. But if you are feeling down, you just want something silly to watch that doesn't require any brain cells, watch Thunder Force.
Yep.
So, one great start, and then the other two were kind of not great this week. But next week, we have an interesting set of movies. We're going to do The Bad Batch for the whole season, so that will be a part of it. And the other one is a new comic adaptation called Jupiter's Legacy. We'll do that. And I know somebody had requested us to do Tenet. That's out on HBO Max. I think we can fit it in.
I watched it again. I watched it once. It was tough.
Yeah, and let me recommend watch Tenet twice.
At least.
I know it's kind of tough, but you might not catch everything the first time. I promise you. So
I've not seen it yet at all. So you're telling me, so I've got to watch it twice this week to be able to sit with you guys. All right.
Recommended. I watched it once and I'm like, what happened? Okay.
Yes. And I think that was the point of it. And the first one,
so you got to pay to see it twice.
What? And so definitely watch it again.
Okay.
And then you will see what I'm talking. I think it would give you a better chance to do a review if you watch it twice.
All right.
It's a lot to take in the first time.
It is. Oh my God, so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I definitely recommend catching that twice. But it's super interesting. But I'll let you let us know. And okay, so guys, you got any final? So we'll watch The Bad Batch, Jupiter's Legacy, which you can also find on Hoopla, and it is a comic, and they have multiple volumes of the comic on Hoopla. So check out my YouTube page, and I'll show you how to download and get Hoopla, so you can look at it for free, or you can check it out at your public library. So, fellas, let's say some final words and let the people go. Let's start with David.
Well, I would say very quickly to folks, if you're really, if you're still jazzed about May 4th, go on to YouTube and type in Star Wars NPR, and you'll be able to access for free the NPR radio adaptation of Star Wars, Empire, and Jedi. They're actually, there's more than just the films there. The tagline was, you haven't seen Star Wars until you've heard Star Wars. So I invite everybody to listen to those. The late, great Brian Daley wrote these out. And if you're not familiar with his work, probably the finest of any Star Wars writer of all the expanded universe. So take a listen to Star Wars: A New Hope from the NPR version that was put out back in the 80s. You'll absolutely love it. Mark Hamill's in it. and some other wonderful actors, but he reprises his role as Luke in Star Wars and Empire. Check that out.
Nice. Great recommendation.
Just keep watching the good stuff, man. I mean, catch up on Clone Wars, catch up on Rebels. I mean, it really will expand your viewing of this new series if you are up to date on all the little subtle winks that they're giving you. But great stuff. Keep it up.
Yeah, we'll keep it up. And just make sure you are subscribing to our channel, PJamma Life on YouTube. We need more subscribers, so come on out and join us. And as we like to tell you all each week, we're still in a pandemic, so please wear your mask, social distance, wash your hands. And if you can get a vaccine so we can all get back to being together. And Black Lives still matter. So next week, we'll see you again on PJamma Life. Take care.
Aloha.